Tooth number 13, a second bicuspid, which has broken a number of different times and has decay. Here's the shade that we used. The patient had broken off filling, and as you can see, it's a little bit wide in depth, but there's actually more decay. And the options for the tooth we decided was to go ahead and do a conservative zirconium crown. You can see the decay that is underneath the filling or where the filling broke, and we have a very good look at the margin as well. The black color around the tooth is actually the cord that keeps the gum tissue away from it, and we use that so that we can go in and prepare the tooth without causing any bleeding. And then from there, when we do the impression, we can either use a two-cord technique where we take out one, there's two cords around the tooth, and we take out one and do the impression so that there's no bleeding. Or two, oftentimes you can just take out all the cords and do an impression and get what you would like without any bleeding. All depends on how good the patient's home care is. Here we're removing the rest of the decay and the filling that was in the interproximal area, and we'll come back and fill in that area with a crown, with a little buildup using some composite. And it's important to be able to be sure that all the decay is there, because we're hoping that this crown will last 12 to 25 years. The nice thing about zirconium is that you don't need to have a heavy shoulder on the buccal or lingual, and the tooth can be cemented in with a cement that has fluoride in it, though it is possible to bond zirconium these days when it's subgingival like this, where there's a possibility of it bleeding. I prefer to use something like Ketaxim, which in some people's hands have more sensitivity. Really haven't ever had that problem myself, and after years of using it, when you take a crown off, the teeth are still very well protected. This is the flowable that I was talking about, just filling in some of the gaps so that we can get a nice preparation for the crown. And we had bonded that in using some SE primate bond. So we'll go back and re-prepare that tooth, and there's a chamfer burr that is used for doing that. There's other videos that show that preparation. Just make sure everything's nice and smooth. You can see the cord that's there. Go ahead and do the impression, send it out to the laboratory. The laboratory gives us the zirconium crown. There's the dye going into it, and as you can see, it's very closely adapted. These are milled, and you could have porcelain to match the color, which is what was done in this case. A portion of the buccal area is done in porcelain, and there it is in place. You can see how it matches the anatomy of the adjacent tooth, number 12, and it picks up the color from tooth number 11. There's a little blackness up at the root, and that's still the cord because we're still evaluating the tooth. We haven't, in terms of putting the crown in, I packed cord so there wouldn't be any bleeding, and we'll cement the crown in and make sure that there isn't any problem with the cement getting wet. Having the patient go through the different excursive contacts. You can see how the person grinds on his canines and doesn't touch that tooth at all, going side to side. The tooth itself blends nicely. We'll cement it in, and then once the cement is in, we'll take out the cord out. You need to be very careful of that because you don't want the cord to get caught underneath the crown. But this is a really good way to push the gum tissue back and get a really close inspection of how good the margin is. And I'm holding the crown with one hand and using my Explorer. And getting better views as far as that's concerned. Traditionally, we would have removed a lot more tooth structure on the outside to get that type of aesthetic look. And with zirconium, a chamfer is all that's necessary. I can see where all the margins are with the cord being tacked there. And we clean that up. Double check visually the contacts, though we check them with flossing as well. And then we have an x-ray of what it looks like afterwards. And that's the zirconium crown, conservatively prepared.